Comment, bienvenue, welcome to another Property Quorum. Well, it's down to the gruesome foursome yet again, and we are Property Quorum stalwarts. We have, of course, Hamish McClay of Search Convey, Judah Babulal of Garrett Cook, and of course, Chris Golston of Root Home. And we come together weekly at the Property Quorum to discuss all things that are happening and moving and shaking in the property market, particularly where it involves various different parts of property and how people are going to face it. Today's topic is MHCLG facing a mountain. Can it cope, whatever the cost? For Arnie, obviously, usual being the educated clown that I am, I don't know what that means, and I'm hoping that Hamish McClay will help me understand.
Well, it's the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government.
Oh, lovely. I do like an acronym.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Do you realise there are more employees of the MHCLG than I have followers on LinkedIn? I only have 3,000 followers on LinkedIn. So there are more 3,500. The number.
Don't miss out that 500. It's very important.
The other aspects about this, of course, which most people will don't tend to realise, we're actually paying their salaries. Some of the salaries will be in six figures, but we're also paying their salaries. We'll also be paying for their pensions. And what has happened since this particular government sort of came into power, who basically were going to cut down on payment for certain aspects of the infrastructure and civil service, they have added more and more work to this particular aspect of government, which has quite significant tasks involved with what it's meant to be covering, because it's a major part of what's actually helping out with producing 1.5 million homes over the next 4 years now. Basically, we're getting close to, and unfortunately, if we keep adding to the work which they're doing and the hold-ups that we already have, are we going to be able to cope? So there's two aspects to it. Do we need to increase this 3,500 that we already have? Push up the expenditure on that? And are they going to be able to achieve, with all the additional demands that have actually been put onto them, what is going on? Because they do, they're the ones involved with planning reform as well. They're the ones that, in fact, are going to have a big sort of push in the renters' rights bill. So there's so much they're going to. Can they cope, really? Is really what the question is.
I think we've lost Gareth. I was going to just say, look, I went on their website this morning and looking at the reviews, because I think in a day where you've got Google, it's always worth looking at, what you're dealing with. And there was a 2-star review on there, and there were adjectives like reckless and pointless, and why they even called the levelling up department, because they literally aren't doing what they say they will do. When you've got things like shared ownerships, which were meant to get people on the housing ladder, going awry. So what you've got is an uncapped service charge amount, you've got rising ground rent, and you've got people in this shared ownership scheme who quite frankly find it unaffordable. So it's almost as if it's a complete contrast for what it was set up to do, but there's a huge amount of taxpayers' money going into it, which is quite worrying.
Yes, it is an interesting one. I think maybe Gareth had a power cut, so running theme late. Maybe this new department's gearing up to actually come and do the delivery on these 300,000 properties a year. Just playing devil's advocate, it could be an interesting turnaround that this government's actually going to do something of use. So maybe it's an exciting time for us. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced, but we are hopeful. And certainly in our space, the level of demand in the social housing sector is just insanely off the charts. And there's an article I'm currently sharing as part of our outreach where the amount of available social housing that's genuinely affordable is down to about, in the PRS, is down to about 2.5%, which was a recent Guardian article. So the developments that hopefully are happening at the MHCLG, maybe they are for the positive, and I'm hoping to address that turnaround in the circumstances.
Chris, well, we always had promised that there was going to be in the last, I can't remember, 38 governments, that there was going to be a certain level of new house building.
I think for the last 40 years they've been talking about hitting this 300,000 a year target, and over the last decade that's kind of been eked away. And yeah, it's been reduced and reduced and reduced, and it's just with this latest government that they've tried to reinvigorate that same vigor that they should have been hitting all along and have never really hit at all. I think
it seems to me that we're getting a few bungalows and maybe a small office block, and that's about it.
Well, bungalows are a great strategy, you know. So it's one of the few things where it's a very good potential real estate investment strategy, because lots of people want single-story living when they're getting older, and they also want the garden space and everything else. So yeah, the fact that we haven't been building bungalows is a bit of a disappointment, because they are certainly very, very desirable for people that are plus 55.
There's no space for bungalows. I keep hearing people saying there's no space. We've got no space left. Is that right, Hamish?
Well, one of the struggles we do have, and when we actually sort of think what this Ministry of Housing are meant to be actually sort of looking after, because of the hold-ups, because we aren't able to push things through as effectively as we can, and because of the dangers imposed with all the cladding issues we sort of come about, people are starting to think, well, actually, we're not going to build blocks of flats which are 16 stories high. We want to build them below 11 meters or below 15 meters to get away. So basically, they're trying to pull them down, which, of course, in areas where there really is a great demand for housing, we're taking up all that much greater space on the ground. Like Chris says, tremendous thing, bungalows. I used to live in one at one particular sort of stage, thoroughly enjoyed it. Had a lovely garden as well on the bank of the Thames. Oh, but sorry, I was just enjoying my sort of.
Well, we can all go back that memory lane. I remember living on the banks of the Thames as well. But there you go. Now in the middle of no flipping where. All right, but the point is, Hamish, we've been promised something, and yet again, we're not. They're not coming up to the mark. Surely it should be held to account.
Well, there is that particular aspect, but what I cannot sort of understand, where we have a situation where we have one particular part of the government regime that is going to be responsible for so many things. I mean, how do you resolve the cladding issue? How do you actually sort of carry out government reorganisation? I mean, today is an excellent day to sort of speak about all the elections that aren't taking place because they're reorganising local government. They want to create all these mayorships, the unitary authorities, which are actually sort of, all of this is coming in at the same time as we're meant to be improving and speeding up things like planning. How can you do it when you're completely restructuring the basis of what, if you like, what local government is about?
Well, we've actually had a couple of comments. First of all, one from Basra Mohammed, who says, great topic and timing as we all go to vote today. Good point. And of course, from a stalwart as well of Property Quorum and Cladding Matters, Zara Olibokas, what's the point of building all these new homes with no riddled with defects? Yes, it's a good point. And they have no consumer protection for individuals or housing associations buying these properties. We wouldn't have needed the Building Safety Act if there weren't such issues. Well, quite right. Any thoughts, Hamish?
Well, it's another thing that remains unresolved, along with the renters' rights. And new towns. I forgot about the new towns. I mean, where does it end? Where does it actually end? But we do have this particular challenge. If we cannot actually control or repair what we built in the past, which is wrong, and we still haven't actually figured out a way of regulating the quality of properties moving forward. And we're trying to improve the department which is meant to be responsible for all of this, because and they're getting 2 stars. Did you say, Juliet? In fact, in many, I doubt very much they get many. The majority of people actually don't actually even bother. They just actually ignore it because they think they don't deserve any stars at all. Certain departments of it, and there's not necessarily the people directly involved who are actually working within that framework, but it's the structure and the organisation, because that has to change. It's going to be changing anyway because it's going to be expanding. I don't see a way forward at the moment while they're trying to do everything at once.
MHCLG, Juliet, will they be able to cope, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, they're impending strikes. I saw on a newspaper this morning that their employees want to strike because they're demanding them more in the office than being at home. The reality is there's a lot of fluff, there's a lot of noise, and we're not aware of what the outcome's going to be. And every government that you've got will blame the last one and say it's because of them. And I just think that we as consumers, we as a nation need some respect, because we're not all idiots that just going to be fed things and just take it wholesalely. But when you've got a problem, so you've got your cladding problems, and as Zara said, all those buildings that were built with defects, and you're not holding developers accountable, and you're needing to send legislation to Parliament to be passed to rectify that. But what you're not looking at is the tremendous amount of time that's being spent on that and costs. So again, you're throwing money down the pan. But is it just a plaster? Is it just a plaster for the solution? And you're not actually fixing, the stuff that's causing the wound. And that's what it is. And so we need realists involved. We need accountability, and we need checks and balances. And that's just not, one size fits all. You need people to go in there and forensically look at the issue and find solutions.
Some people might say, Chris, that we get the governance that we deserve.
That's a bit cynical.
Come on, Chris. It's been a long time coming. Here we are, a quadrillion governments in. We still don't have the properties that we were promised, and yet we're still shaking our sabers in their scabbards without actually doing anything about it.
Yes, this is true. We seem to be very, very apathetic to change, to creating change. We seem to just have this propensity to have these two-party system. There's not really a three-party system. They're all the same anyway. They're just different flavors of the same junk, which is very disappointing. Just to go back to the title of this department, I was just looking at the acronyms, and they cover massive areas. You've got Ministry of Housing, huge department in itself, communities, massive, and then local government. Again, these are huge areas. I'm not sure why this department is amalgamated to deal with all these different things. Yes, of course they're all connected, but it's almost a mini government department, a mini government inside the government. It's absolutely huge what it's trying to address. You also mentioned the changes with the local authorities, and yeah, I'm not sure why they're doing it. It's a distraction. It's completely unnecessary, really. We're getting so far away. We have these large counties. These, I'm not sure what you define them as, but the traditional counties that are there, they exist. They lots of the people that live there still associate themselves with those different areas as well. So yeah, I'm not sure why they feel the need to keep trying to reinvent the wheel on these local authority departments and keep getting it wrong rather than just try and stick with what they've got and make it right. I'm at a loss as to why it continues. The solutions seem to be so blindingly obvious to me and the man on the street, yet they're not implemented. So yeah, I can see why people do get apathetic.
Hamish, as I said to Chris, we kind of get the governance we deserve, I guess. But do you think that there really will be this time round, now it's plain to see, that there'll be any pressure to actually get things done, build some houses?
Well, the challenge is that there already is pressure. However, you can only press something so far. And once you actually sort of get to the hard stuff at the bottom, it ain't going any further. So we've got a department which at the moment is struggling with all of the different issues, with all those complications that Chris has said that we're trying to amalgamate into one department. I mean, there's more people involved in that one department than around the two houses of Parliament put together when you actually sort of start thinking about it. And when you start adding, this was a challenge as well. It wouldn't be so bad if they were just trying to cope with things as they were. But when you're trying to add and you're trying to improve, particularly efficiencies, we know the big struggle we have with planning. And because of what is happening, my major concern is we lost an awful lot of quality over the years. And Grenfell actually re-emphasized this particular sort of point. And now we know we've got challenges with new build. And we need to regulate. One of the major things that we do need to do is to regulate what is actually going on, what is going into our properties. And we're not able to actually do that. We don't have a way of doing it. And what they're trying to say already is we need to cut corners here because it's taking even longer than it should be. We brought in new regulations, but there's nobody qualified. There's nobody qualified to actually investigate anything. So what's the point in bringing in more stuff if we're already suffering from the absence of people in a qualified position to help us to go forward? So we are a bit stuck at the moment, and unless we stop just saying, oh, this we're going to do a bit more of this, and we're going to do a bit more of this, and we're going to do a bit. So eventually the whole we engulf absolutely everything that's going on in society through this one particular sort of department. It does seem a bit overwhelming.
Well, in the absence of common sense, I think you hit the nail on the head, Hamish. A little bit of erosion around the edges, but no real major movement. And I urge all of you to give us feedback on that. We had another comment from Zara, actually. Governments don't run the show, it's the civil servants. And that's why nothing changes. And you say that I'm cynical, Chris. So all of you
say that, Zara.
don't lift up the underskirts and show the petticoats here, please. Seriously, our role here is to commentate, but I would say that all of you out there can affect real change. Write to your MP, point out this pointlessness, and see if we can get some real movement. However, as has been said by Zara and others, if we've got vast amounts of building stock that's at the moment immobile because of the cladding issue, and once that gets alleviated somewhat, I think that may change things. But who am I to say? Thank you all for watching. To all of you out there, just keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and I suspect we might get somewhere. Keep looking after that mental health. Until next week, goodbye.